Oh, it does. It's the girl. Okay. Good evening. We are going to call the meeting to order. The regular meeting of the Novi Board of Education. Tonight is January 19th. If we can please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we begin tonight, there are times when we will have public comment, and we do a lot of follow-up on that. So I've asked Mr. Menka, based on some public comment that we had at our last meeting, to say a few words before we move into our meeting. Mr. Menka.
Sure, thank you. So obviously, as many of you know, there were a lot of public comments surrounding, including from a student and her family from last week. And I've had the opportunity to have conversations with the board, and I've been directed by the board to work through the processes at our disposal with the family to try and bring healing and resolution. We want what's best for the former student as well as for our district. And so I will just respectfully ask, of course, everyone is welcome to approach the podium and speak to the board during our public comment section. But I would just ask to keep in mind that we are working through our processes, and I would just respectfully ask that you allow us to go through that and do that and bring some resolution for this family without additional commentary on that issue. As I said before, of course, everyone's welcome to make public comment, but we are handling that, and I would just ask and respectfully ask that you would allow us to do that and move forward as a district. Thank you.
Thank you. We will ask for an approval of the agenda, if I can get a motion.
I'll move to approve tonight's agenda.
Support.
Recommended by Mr. Smith and supported by Mr. Cook. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. This evening, we're going to start with Board Appreciation Month. Mr. Menka.
Thank you so much. I know that none of you planned this or knew about this, but I will say that across the United States, and specifically in this state, we recognize January as National Local School Board Month. And so this is our month to recognize the many hours that you do and will dedicate to service of our children and our staff within public schools. I'm going to read a resolution. This is a resolution that we will put forward for you to acknowledge, and I know it's a little weird when you're acknowledging yourself, but whereas Michigan is home to more than 600 school board of educations that work to enrich the lives of Michigan's students through education and directly influence instruction in Michigan's public schools, and whereas Article 8, Section 2 of the Michigan Constitution of 1963 states that providing for the education of Michigan's children is a fundamental duty of the state government, and whereas local school board members represent their community to ensure that educational opportunities are provided to the children and young adults in their community that will advance student achievement in the schools and communities in which they serve. And whereas during this month, we join the Michigan Association of School Boards, the Michigan Department of Education, local school districts, and community organizations to recognize and raise awareness of the countless efforts and contributions of local school boards and school board members throughout Michigan. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Novi Community School District, do hereby proclaim the month of January 2023 as Local School Board Month and honor the contribution of Novi Community School District school board members Danielle Ruskin, Tom Smith, Marianne Roney, Willie Mena, Paul Cook, Betsy Bodwine, and Jason Mishner. I would ask for you to approve that resolution tonight, and I have some further festivities once that's complete.
Okay, I'm not going to ask for, I'll ask for a motion. You can just say as presented, because it would be weird to reread that, Mr. Cook.
May I?
Go ahead.
Sure.
As a new person on this board, I would really like to make this resolution. I move that we approve this resolution as presented.
Support.
Thank you.
Recommended by Trustee Bodwine and supported by Mr. Mishner. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
So, I will digress a little bit and just say that I've been a superintendent for a while and I understand the many hours, that school board members dedicate in service of their communities. It's not a high-paying job, and we appreciate, the efforts that you make, and we're excited, Betsy and Jason, to see the exciting things that you're gonna bring to this board as well. Couple things that I would just like to recognize, I asked for the building principals and the department leaders to, do something very small, just to recognize the efforts of our school boards. And our amazing administrators, this is what very small looks like. So, we actually have things from every building and we wanna recognize what each building did for you. So, I'm gonna ask Sheila, who worked very hard to organize this. And Sheila Holly does a lot of things behind the scenes to support you as school board members as well. And so I think it's fitting that she would be able to kind of come and describe what each thing is. So I will start by saying from the district, especially for you, Jason and Betsy, I know you don't have a lot of swag, but these are from Mr. Armstrong's school store at the high school. And we would just, it's the cat rack, we would ask that if the size is not right, you can certainly go in and trade it out. But get you some swag for with the Wildcat logo on it. But every building has something a little bit special. So I'm gonna pass out while Sheila's gonna come forward and describe what each building did.
All right, we're gonna start with the high school because you can put some of these smaller goodies into this lovely bag that they gave us. First of all, I have to say, we have some amazingly creative people in this district. And then there's me. They have come up with all these great things. Now, the high school, they have a skull cap in here for each one of the board members, and they also have a free cookie that they can get, so they can redeem that coupon for that. So this is our Novi High School.
Sorry.
Sweet. Then we have, let's do Novi Woods. Novi Woods had their kids write little notes for each one of the board members. So,
Yeah, Dr. or Principal Asher is very,
This one says to
If it's
We'll
why
start
you can't
with that.
find me.
yeah.
Thank you.
All right, then our Novi Middle School, they wanted to show off the 3D printers, so, which are pretty amazing, because I don't know if you're aware that there's like a small CAD program that goes with this, that the kids learn how to do CAD. So they printed off some little snowflakes for each one of the members. So this isn't easy stuff to do. I remember when we first got them, they were trying to make a table, the kids were not the teachers. And it took a lot of finessing.
Thank you.
Oh, wow.
Dr. Shannon.
Plates for the food.
All right, and then we have Novi Meadows, who also used their 3D printer to print these little keychains. But what they did was really cool. I mean, they've got a note in here for each one of the board members. But this key is representative of the new building. So they're getting keys to the new building that's being built. So that was pretty clever. All right, and then these are from Parkview. These are nice little pencil cases. And they've got Novi pencils, Novi rulers, and a little note in there for the board members. It's really awesome as well.
Thank you.
All right, now Deerfield has these nice notepads, and I don't know about you, but I go through a lot of notepads. And they also have these, they're kind of like a bandana type of thing, that have Deerfield on them, so those are pretty neat as well.
Thank you.
All right, Orchard Hills here. Once again, we have these creative teachers. Once again, it's not me. Inside here, they have these really neat little paw print stitches that one of the teachers made. And a little note in there as well, so that's. All right, and we have Novi Virtual. They got these awesome sugar cookies, and they had the Novi logo printed on there. that are pretty cool, and they each have a little note for the board members thanking them for their service.
This is cool. This is a coaster?
Yeah, yeah.
Or you could put your rings in it.
Your
Okay.
watch.
All right, and then we have, the East teachers. Now, this is really amazing. I think this is so creative. And, so they have each one of these board members get some of these.
Read those.
Now, these are from Village Oaks, and they gave board members each a little water glass. But also, inside each bag are 7 letters from students thanking the board members for the service given. And it's so cute to see the elementary kids really fill things up.
I can pass one to Willie if you want me to.
All right.
Here you go, Willie.
Now, these are portfolios. It has adult education on here, which is, encompasses a lot of things. It also encompasses our career prep high school and the adult Excel program. So they are doing this, and inside of each one of these portfolios is a really nice thank you letter that, they put in the board.
Oh, I bet Candace made these.
And our wonderful food service.
Yep.
Our food service is, I don't know if you've ever had them cater anything, they do catering. They do an absolutely wonderful job. She's got some chocolate covered strawberries in here, some homemade, confection cookies, and homemade granola.
Oh, my. Not a good time to go on a diet.
Thank you.
All right, now, these, I don't know if any of you have ever purchased anything that our kids from the NEC have made. They make some awesome stuff. And if you, I shouldn't say if, when you come to the Green Gala, you'll be able to bid on what they're at. But they have these teacups that were donated to them by a husband whose wife had passed away, and they made word beaters. So that's, yeah, that's pretty cool. And then they also make wellness bags. Wellness is
Okay, because like,
high on
I
our
don't know, I mean,
priorities
I've
in
never
district.
seen this much
So they
sweat.
have these wellness bags that they make, they got stress balls in here.
Neither have I.
They got popcorn,
Pretty
they got granola bars and this type of thing.
Usually it's just cookies that Tom does.
Hey, Dan, you're thinking about running now.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, right, is this your way?
This is actually a recruitment tool. We're trying to entice people to run.
Sorry, I spilled my water, so.
Oh, sorry about that.
So me and Willie were.
Oh, that's cute.
Right here, you got one for me?
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
That's really cute. I know, it's like,
Oh, wait, I got somebody else's thing.
Here, oh, you got names
oh,
on it?
they got these today.
Thomas can help me.
We pull them behind.
I know, I'm definitely behind.
All right, and last but not least, all the schools are accounted for.
Thank you,
Every
Lily.
single last one of them are accounted for. So these are history gifts.
Okay, thank you.
No idea. It feels like it's probably my
Mystery gifts. I'm afraid to open it.
And these are just extra cookies. All more letters.
Extra cookies.
So, well, congratulations, and thank you for what you've done. Thank you so much for.
Thank you, Sheila.
And I know the hours you put
Sheila,
in.
I think you should take one of those cookies since you make us look so good.
Thank you.
In addition, our food service department prepared just a small spread out there for people who are members of the audience as well as for board members. And I appreciate our administrators that helped pull this together. It was just really, I was blown away when I saw what they did, but also very much appreciative of the work that you all do. So congratulations and thank you for your leadership.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that is amazing. Even, This is really special, the mystery gift, even though they're all amazing because they're personalized. So the kids actually sat down and wrote special notes, and so it will be very special to read that, so. And Jason and Betsy, you just came to the board at the very right time, because I think this is the first time that this has ever happened, so.
I was excited about the shirt, and then there was, it was amazing. Thank you,
What shirt?
everyone.
Which shirt?
Yeah, great.
I may have
Thank you very much. Thank you to our community, thank you to our administration, and certainly thank you to all of our students and our schools. It's not easy to sit up here and be honored, so tonight, when Mr. Micah kept saying, oh, it's school board appreciation, I was like, yeah, let's just kind of like toss that off to the side. When I walked in there and saw the pile, like, you know, it would look like under potentially a Christmas tree. I didn't realize how special it would be, so thank you very much. We are gonna move on to our first real agenda item besides the celebrations there. So we have reports to the board, and tonight we have a wonderful opportunity, and Mr. Micah is gonna share that with us.
Thank you. So you've heard me speak at a previous board meeting about the fact that our district has had therapy dogs in the past, but one of the things that we really are moving forward with is creating a structured system that allows for all schools to have therapy animals and create an environment where we know we can have assurance that every building will have the amount of therapy dogs that they need to support our children. So I'm really excited about this project. I'm very excited about Dr. Carino helping to pull a lot of this together. This is an area of not only passion but expertise for her, and so I'm excited for her to talk about a partnership with just a phenomenal breeder and reputable breeder that's going to present to us tonight. And so I'll turn it over to Dr. Carino.
Thank you. I am very excited tonight to kick off this program. When Mr. Micah brought this to my attention and said we want to pursue this, I was all in because, as you know, I did my dissertation on therapy dogs in the classroom and how that affects reluctant readers. And it was remarkable to see the change that kids had in their perception of reading just in the short time that they read to therapy dogs at Parkview last year. And so I strongly believe that this is just a remarkable program, and I'm very excited to lead it. We are working with Valerie Thomas, who is here from Mindfulness Therapy Dogs. And so she is not only the breeder of the therapy dogs, but she is also the trainer. And so we will be partnering with her and her organization to be able to have her train the dogs that we will be getting. We are first starting with 3 next year, and then we will hopefully continue that partnership over the next few years until every building has at least 1 dog. What will be different from the Novi for All therapy dog program is that these dogs will be owned by Novi. And so if a staff member left or they choose to do a different thing, the dogs stay with us, and so the dog wouldn't leave with that staff member who may choose to retire, resign. And so we're just very excited to kind of grow this program. And I'm going to turn it over to Valerie so that she can share some of the background from her organization. And she actually brought 2 dogs, Dexter and Lily, tonight that have been a fan favorite as people walked in this evening. And I hope you got a chance to pet them because they just were adorable. So welcome, Valerie.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura, for that wonderful introduction, and thank you, Novi School Board, for allowing us to come and present to you tonight. We're so excited with this partnership. We're so excited to be able to help your students, not only your students and your staff, with social emotional therapy and just having that comfort around just being in the building. As you guys know and are aware of, it's getting to be a tough time for students, right? It's not just here, it's nationally, it's all over. There's lots of statistics around to show that that anxiety rates are going up, that people, the kids are really just struggling, and we need to provide any additional tools we can for them for social emotional comfort. So having therapy dogs as a tool is wonderful. You can see it's not only a feeling that people have, it's statistically tested and recorded, and you can find that anywhere you look, that there's a need that we can definitely offer a solution for. So according to weareteachers.com, there's social benefits, there's cognitive benefits, and there's also health benefits for having dogs in schools. As you can see, someone was talking about dogs reading. Here's a student reading to one of our dogs as an example of, all of these pictures are our dogs that have been placed or that we've been taking around to different schools. The social benefits, dogs help facilitate relationships between faculty and students. Dog offer companionship, connection and confidence, relieving stress and aggression. Trust and empathy are increased stimulation of social behaviors. One of the things, I just want to address this with a little personal story. We go in to bring our dogs, as you can see, we take them wherever we're going to get them the practice that they need. And the students just start opening up. They start talking to us. Teachers come up and they start talking. It just creates just this, removes boundaries of just to have that dog, the animal there, to just really facilitate a conversation, just the beginning of a conversation. Cognitive and health benefits, improve reading skills, we talked about that, improves memory and problem-solving skills, lower blood pressure, lowers stress hormones, reduces anxiety and depression. All this has been proven that dogs help do all of these things for our students. The next steps. So what we do, we did bring a couple of dogs. We brought one that was just 10 weeks old. I think if everybody seems to love Lily. And then we have one that's 6 months old that is still going through the program. When we breed these dogs, not all dogs are therapy dogs. I think lots of us who have dogs could raise our hand and say, yeah, my dog would not qualify, right? So we temperament test and we start training them at 3 days old. Just to get them used to start trusting people, building bonds with people. We expose them to different stimuluses that they would encounter in school. That could be from wheelchairs to gymnasiums that are loud. We take them to parades. We introduce them to all age levels because a lot of times you'll have, if something happens, we need the dogs to be able to cross schools because if something happens in one school district, it's like, okay, we're bringing a call to the dogs to this school district, to this particular school that they're, so all students can have what they need. We also desensitize dogs. The last thing that you want is you want a dog to react to a student. So we do things to them that make them, like if to simulate a dog that might get stepped on or pulled, their hair pulled, or, everybody likes to play with their paws, and not many, I don't know if you guys know, but dogs normally don't like that, but students tend to do it, right? So we want to make sure that they know how to cope and how to deal with different stressors, the dogs themselves. With our program, it's not just that we train the dogs and hand them to you and say good luck, right? We educate the students, we educate the staff. Before we release the dogs, you guys will have presentations in all the schools to show to all your students. All your staff will come and will do presentations for all the staff to see. There'll be handouts for your staff of expectations to set, not only for the students and the staff, but for the dogs, right? If you want to achieve success, everybody needs to know what's going on. You need to know how to handle the dog. You need to know what the expectations are for the students approaching the dog. Everybody needs to be in the know, and that really does help your success rate. Plan of action, we work with you guys to set up plan of actions for allergies. If there's students with allergies, we need to know that. We need to know how to keep the dogs clean and well groomed to keep the dander down. We need to know if there's someone in the school that we can keep the dog out of common areas, right? So that we can make sure that we have a dog and we have the safest environment for all of our students. Fear and anxiety is a real thing for some people with dogs. We want to address that. We have a plan of action. A lot of times, people, if we go into a classroom, people say, no, I'm not interested. But by the time they see us handling the dog, they see how we handle it, how we expect them to approach, all of a sudden, people with fear and anxieties, because our dogs are so calm and just so relaxed and cute, right? They're just cute and everybody wants to touch them. Then all of a sudden, the dog's touching the student is touching the dog. A lot of times we can overcome those fears, but if we can't, we always make sure that we respect the fear and that touching the dog is always, always, always voluntary, never mandatory. And then we work with you to help you develop health insurance for the dog and liability insurance for the school district. We also want to work with you on choosing host families. Even though we can train the best dog, it's a partnership with the host family and the dog. In order to have success, you have to have a well-trained host family that knows how to handle situations, that knows how to protect that dog, that knows how to control the environment the dog is in, and control the students and staff around the dog. One example is people say, oh, I can't help myself. I want the dog to lick me. I want the dog to lick me, right? And I can't help myself. Well, that doesn't work out. It's impossible for the dog to know who likes licked and who doesn't. So there's just no licking, and we need to make sure our host family can make that a safe place for the dog and for the students and staff that don't want that kind of behavior. We also talk about support during transition. We want to make sure that there's always something like this is happening. We want to make sure that this is off to a good start. And then the cost of caring for the dog, we want to make sure that the dog's going to get everything it needs once it's released and all of that plan of action is implemented. So here's some testimonies from mindfulness therapy dogs that we released and how they've impacted the school districts. You guys have some already in the school district, but here's just some that we have gotten feedback from our different schools. Improved emotional well-being. I'm just going to really, go over this really quick, but you guys can kind of read it while I'm talking. Smiles and laughter, comfort to students, joy, happiness to the students and staff. Recommend every school invest in a therapy dog. Again, joy and happiness, you're going to see that over always. The emotional level of the school just raises, right? Kids are getting off buses when before they were afraid to get off buses. They're coming into the office from, decompressing from their home life, and they can come in and have help doing that by just petting a dog and just having their whole blood pressure go down, right? Be the child's friend to help calm them down, very loved by all, sense of calm, reduces stress, brought giggles and laughter, calm to students and staff, instrumental helping the students with attendance, that's key to me, and behavioral issues, exceeded every expectation. So I know I went through this really fast and just kind of touched base on anything. Does anybody have any questions or how we're going to implement a process, anything about that? I'm open to hear to.
Any board members have any questions? Sure, Jason.
Deerfield's had some therapy dogs for a couple of years, so I've been fortunate to see the impact, and it's been really positive. I agree with all those statements I've been able to see in the kids there. My one question for you is, how long have you been in business for?
So officially, I started the business January 1st, 2019, but I started providing therapy dogs for Brighton several years before that.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
Can we see some of our guests, the dogs?
Yeah,
You're hiding in the
absolutely.
back.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
Should we maybe check to make
Yeah,
sure
they
the
can
Yeah,
dogs
we
are
better
good?
check to make sure the dogs are good.
Yeah,
Yeah, we can just.
you can come right up and,
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Make the kids so happy.
So this is Lily. Lily is 10 weeks old, and she is, if you want to just pass around.
Lily.
So Lily is 10 weeks old. She's an Australian Labradoodle. And then we have Dexter, who is almost 6 months old.
Well, I feel happier and calmer already, so I think that's just lovely. Is Lily coming to Novi, or is this just one of the dogs?
Lily has not been spoken for yet, but I think Laura and I are working on a plan of timing.
Just wondering. She's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All our existing therapy dogs have a place here until the teacher or the handler or the dog
Right,
retires.
that's the,
yeah, so all of our current therapy dogs are wonderful, and
Yep.
we will maintain and grandfather them, of course. This would be to ensure that as some of our current therapy animals or therapy dogs either age out or, if a staff member that owns that dog retires, then this will be how we replace
yes.
I guess we call them the pack, right? I mean, is that,
There's back, yeah.
they're a pack, right? So,
Yeah, I think that's really good.
maybe speak to, I know, Dr. Carino, maybe this is a question for you. I know we've talked about the types of dogs. My understanding is that we're looking at 3 dogs for the fall, and that maybe our puppies have already been born, and I didn't know about the breed, or if you wanted to speak to that at all.
So I breed I have two different breeds. I have the Australian Labradoodle and I also have a Bernedoodle. So the Bernedoodle, on Sunday, the mom gave birth to 11 puppies, which is a lot of puppies. So, we picked those breeds because, just over time, we've found that, like if you can see with Lily's hair, her coat is just gorgeous. We want non-shedding. A lot of people don't want to go home with dog hair on their clothes, right? Or having hair, the staff doesn't want to have to clean that, right? So, and then you can see the Australian Labradoodle. We were doing Labradoodles, and the coats were a little bit of a problem, also, and sometimes they were a little bit more. Not hyper, but a little bit too hyper for what we needed. And so when we did the Australian Labradoodle, which is a cocker mixed in with it, you see this calmness. Lily is actually the most hyper dog in her litter, which if you can believe that. So we want that, that I just want to lay around all day and be pet, right? That's what we want, and that's their job. It's actually they're working by just laying there being pet, so.
Do you guys do anything specific with the dogs to help them learn how to deal with kids that are having anxiety, or is it just, just the general training of tolerating different experiences?
It's just the general training of tolerating different experiences. I mean, just going in, we go into different schools that we just volunteer to go into. And so we run into that with, going into the classrooms. And we start going into the classrooms right away as soon as we feel like they can handle it, just because we want them to have, that's what they need to know how to do, right? So that is our priority. We have regulations that they have to go into the classroom so many times per week, per month, right? So just the staff has to adhere to that.
I'm not sure if my question was clear or not, but what I was wondering is if you train them on how to identify kids that are having anxiety issues or those kind of things, or if they just kind of pick up on it. Because I think the dog in the middle school seems to be very good at knowing when kids are stressed, and seems, from what I've heard, seems to find the children who need the dog. Which I thought was amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing. So what we do is with temperament testing, we do that at day 49, right? And so we do certain, it's like a standard testing to see how the dog reacts to different stimulus. Mm-hmm. And so that helps us to choose dogs that are, for lack of a better word, people pleasers.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
And so that they just kind of want to really work with people. We don't want like a high energy. We don't want one that's very independent. We want one that's just kind of, just,
Wonderful.
you can kind of, some of the tests that you want them to have quick recovery and stuff like that. So specifically to your question about working with high anxiety, what we do is when we do see that situation in the school, we give them a ton of pets, a ton of oh, you're such a good girl, such a good boy, for positively responding to students who are having difficulty.
Awesome.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, we thank you for coming today and sharing about your program, and I know that Laura has been very excited to work with you and has been sharing that through the administration, and I think it's great for our community to be able to hear the program that's going to be developed here in Novi, and of course, bringing the dogs is the best part of the whole thing, sorry.
Your presentation was nice too, though.
Yeah.
All right, thank you guys.
The dogs were extra special.
Oh, good.
So,
I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Alrighty, we will move on in our agenda to celebrations. So if any board members or Mr. Micah has anything besides what they're going to share in their reports later, please go ahead. Mr. Cook.
I'm gonna do it now, I guess, because it's kind of a good thing. CPAC is having their annual
Above and Beyond
recognition. And you can go in and you can recognize anybody. They're running through February 4th, or I thought they
I
extended.
think they extended it maybe to the 12th-ish.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on the exact date.
Yeah, but their form right now says February 4th. You just go online, fill out a form, and you can nominate anybody who has had an impact on one of our special education students. Even one of the dogs. you know, I'm sure the dogs have gone in and made a big impact, and to have them recognized in another way would be good. But it's an annual award, and, you know, a lot of the teachers get recognized. It'd be nice to have more bus drivers, more fellow students recognized, because there is a lot of interaction going on with those. So just wanted to put that out there, that the nominations are open, and they will be open until mid-February, so.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. Any other celebrations that they would like to share, that any board member would like to share this evening?
I'll do it.
Okay, Mr. Smith.
I don't get a chance to spend as much time as I'd like in all the different buildings, but yesterday, late afternoon, around 5:15, 5:30, I had a chance to visit our high school. And I know some of you do a much better job than I do at getting the sporting events and all that stuff, but I had stopped into the Black Box, which is, you know, one of the theater rooms there at the high school, and, you know, Mrs. McKeag was there, and there were a group of students that were rehearsing for the one act that's coming up and practicing their makeup, and, you know, my son was there helping build the set, and it was full, you know, and there's teachers in there, and as I was walking there, I could hear different students playing their musical instruments and practicing, and as I was leaving in the one common area, there was a group of young ladies practicing some dance moves for something. There were some kids doing homework. It looked like they were getting tutoring. I stopped by the gym, the main gym, and, you know, there was a group of athletes in there shooting basketballs and practicing, and a couple of coaches in there. And I'm being honest, I was kind of sad. It reminded me of, you know, 20 years ago when I was in high school. Okay,
Check your
whatever.
math.
But I forgot how alive our buildings are after 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I was reminded that all of the extra effort and time and commitment that is, you know, goes in with our staff and our coaches and our teachers, and, you know, whether it's Heather working with student kids or, you know, our coaches, and it was just really cool, you know, to see our building alive, you know, on a weeknight, very full of all of the things that really, I think, bring meaning to the lives of our young students, and it's not without community members. I saw Darcy still here, and I just can't see her. Okay. Miss Moss, you know, just I'm thinking of you, Darcy, because John S. was in the office today, and, you know, he's taking a wealth builder course? Building wealth course, you know, and he's doing, for part of his coursework, some internship work, if you will, at a real wealth building office, except for 2022. But, you know, and I think of that, I see, you know, Doug Bryan in the audience today, and he's a community member that you guys probably don't know, is also a parent with a student in PAC 54 of Scouts, and gives hours and hours of his time, you know, coordinating different things. And our community is so blessed, and our schools are so full of people, you know, whether it's Darcy visiting our office to check on the work John's doing. It's just, we're really fortunate, you know, and sometimes I think we can get hung up on a thing or two that isn't perfect. But yesterday afternoon, I was reminded of so many things that are wonderfully exactly the way they're supposed to be. And I just wanted to share that with you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Any other celebrations? Okay. Seeing none, we will move on to comments from the audience. I know we have some green cards up here. The board respectfully requests that any individual wishing to speak to the board provide their name, address, any organization they represent. Keep their comments to the allotted time, which is 3 minutes. and refrain from directing comments to individual members of the board, district employees, or to each other out in the audience. So if you haven't filled out a green card and you would like to come to the podium and speak, please do so. And Mrs. Holly will be happy to get that up to our board table. So I will let you go first, Mr. Smith, and call up our first
I also
community
want to
member.
clarify, the first name I'm going to call, I did pick, but Mr. Cook, who's sitting next to me, shuffled up the rest of the deck, put him face down, so I just want the audience to know that they're just randomly selected, one off the top, and there's not a rhyme or reason to who comes up here. But I do want to invite Caitlin to come up and introduce some very important guests that are in our audience tonight.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Caitlin West. I'm a teacher at the high school. And I just want to introduce some of the high school teachers that are here tonight. So they're joining us for the board meeting again. We were also here last week. So we have, not just teachers, staff too. Sarah Lephart, Hallie Smith. We have Darcy Moss, Danielle Leonard, Lily Stowe, Claire Schoenberger, Kelsey Mazarant, and we have Nina Van Hooser also. So we just want to say hi. We're just coming to listen and hear how it goes. Thanks.
Thank you very
Awesome.
much.
Thank you, Caitlin.
We're happy to have you here. Mr.
Okay.
Smith.
Our first audience participation member is Doug Bryant.
Hi, I'm Doug Bryant. I live at 41094 Claremont Avenue. And this is purely coincidental, but the meeting will go to the dogs in a hurry. Before I begin, I would be remiss to not welcome the 2 new board members and thank all of the board for your service to Novi schools. My wife and I are parents of 2 K through 12 Novi grads and a current junior in high school, but I speak tonight as a volunteer for Paws with a Cause. I'm here with my daughter Erica and our 8-month-old Paws puppy Mario. Paws with a Cause raises and trains service dogs for those with disabilities. Paws trains service dogs for mobility assistance, seizure response, hearing assistance, and autism. Although each dog requires significant expenses, Paws dogs are provided at no cost to the client. Puppy raisers house puppies starting at 8 weeks for a period of 12 to 18 months. During this time, they train basic obedience and socialization. Intensive training followed by specific task training, then client and dog training follows before certification, in total about 3 years. For a number of years, weekly puppy classes have taken place at Village Oaks, previously at no cost to Paws. Recently, the district started charging $50 per hour for facility use, including not-for-profit organizations. This equates to about $1,500 per year for Paws for just one of 4 puppy locations in Southeast Michigan. While considerable to Paws, it seems like an insignificant revenue amount to the district. We heard tonight about the therapy dogs and their effectiveness, and also the rigorous training that is involved with those dogs as well. I should also mention that Paws with a Cause places dogs with partner organizations which train for law enforcement, PTSD, and facility dogs as well. So some Paws with a Cause dogs are facility dogs. These are referred to as purposeful placements. Regardless, training classes for puppies are an important part as they begin their training. I would suggest that other not-for-profit organizations have equally important missions to the community, justifying use of portions of schools at times that they would otherwise be idle. I was going to talk about the millages and the consistent support by the community for Novi schools and millages that either enhance buildings or approve entirely new buildings. In fact, the room that we use at Village Oaks was affected by the 2007 millage that created the gym and the cafeteria. I thought it was 5 minutes, I apologize. But I asked the board to reconsider the policy. The good news is, previous to tonight's meeting, I think we have a solution to that, And I very much thank the board and Superintendent Manka for that.
Thank you.
Thanks. Our next audience member is Dan Peck.
Good evening, Dan Peck. I have 3 daughters in Novi Woods where they're growing great leaders, teaching my kids to lead through their actions. There's no debate. Mr. Mena shared the video. His lawyer told you as much from this podium back on May 19th. Mr. Mena, through those video viewers, exposed the event.
If you can just refer to a board member, please,
Okay.
Mr. Peck. We were trying to keep things within our.
Okay, all right,
Thank you.
well, I
Sorry.
might need a few extra seconds then.
It's okay, I'll give them to you.
Okay, a board member then exposed the event through those video viewers as they came here one after another, identifying him and explaining what it is they thought they saw happened. A board member then outed the student with the description vivid enough it took me seconds online to unmask her. Again and again, that board member's actions violated the rules, hurt a student, and inflamed the community. But it's not their actions that reopened a wound last week. It's yours. You committed to supporting the student, but her and her family indicate otherwise. You promised board education so that this wouldn't happen again, but there's been no significant sessions added to your schedule. You deemed those actions not only acceptable for a board member, but becoming of an officer. Over the past year, I've heard repeatedly that student safety is of top priority in the district. We've heard about the tens of millions spent on badge access, video surveillance, new entryways, Raptor, and the like. But the value of those tools pales in comparison to the value of a strong partnership with the student body. With the children, we've invested years teaching that if you see something, say something. That it's okay to say, that they're better safe than sorry, and that they should trust us. At the risk of sounding insensitive, it doesn't matter if somebody had a storied history of helping the district. It doesn't matter if that disclosure was intentional or accidental. It doesn't even matter what happened in that video. The only question relevant tonight is, if you were a Novi student watching these events unfold, would you be more hesitant to report questionable behavior by a person in authority? Would you be more hesitant to report questionable behavior by a person in authority? If you can honestly say no, congratulations, you've done the right thing. But if, like me, you're thinking, well, maybe, probably, yes, well, you're failing our students. Not one student, all of them. Anyone who has to ask, did I really see something? Is it okay for me to say? Is reporting safe, or will I be sorry? Can I trust my leaders? You may be failing, but every partnership can be repaired. Every action or inaction sets the stage for the future. Tonight, I implore you, build that relationship. Be leaders. Act. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peck. Mr. Smith?
Brian Bartlett.
Brian Bartlett, Jaslyn Lane. I'm here representing Junior Achievement of Southeastern Michigan. Trying to move positively forward to the agenda where we're going to be dealing with personal finance and so forth. I listened to the speeches for the new superintendent, heard that some people were 4-H persons. I was a Junior Achievement person. Still am an advisor with Junior Achievement of Southeastern Michigan. Today, Junior Achievement is tightly coupled with the education system. We basically operate within schools, within requests of business and finance teachers, professionals, and focus on 3 areas: personal finance and budgeting, entrepreneurship, what it takes to start a business, and workplace readiness, both in dealing with the collegiate area and for skilled trades, trade schools, and building trades. We sponsor events at the high school and grade school level, from day-long events to where we can bring in instructors for a guest instructor program where they may come into a classroom once a day for 4 or 5 weeks and present a nationwide program on personal finance and budgeting, entrepreneurship, various courses that are available. 6 of 7 educators who have used junior achievement programs in the past say they'd use them again. Post-COVID, I think we're doing a little bit better than that, because in the last year, I'm down there during the school year at least 3 or 4 times a month, and have yet to run into an educator that hasn't used this before COVID. So we're probably using a lot of, having a lot of people that have returned. In the last year, our first post-COVID year, we serviced 33,000, just under 33,000 students in the Detroit metro area. We're sponsored by essentially all the major automotives, all who's who among finance companies along the area, DTE, most of the AAA, a number of companies, and through their HR groups, they provide volunteers to our programs. So we, it's a very tightly coupled partnership. I've included a packet in the packet of notes from the website so that you can, and the websites for looking at junior achievement of Southeastern Michigan. I've also included in there the website for the Sashi Building Academy. That's a partnership between junior achievement, the school system, the city government of Detroit. It is open only to Detroit, but it gives you an idea of the power of the business community, JA, and school systems and how they can operate.
Thank you. If you just bring that up to here,
okay.
or give it to Sheila Holly, and she'll make sure that it gets to Mr. Meinka and his team. Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate you. Mr. Smith?
Sarah Much, please.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Much. I live in Chase Farms here in Novi, and just have a really quick comment to make. It's kind of jumping ahead in the agenda. I am the president or co-president now of the Orchard Hills PTO, and I just wanted to say how much we have enjoyed our time with Mrs. Ringel, and I know she is moving back here to central office, and just wanted to take a moment to recognize the time that we have spent together and the things that we've tried to do together. And I really appreciated that time getting to know you, Mrs. Ringel. I know I'm not supposed to specifically talk about somebody, but if the bigger sense is positive, maybe it's okay. And I look forward to working with our new interim principal too. So I appreciate how quickly from the announcement of Mrs. Ringel's moving on to who is coming in to fill her shoes. I just appreciate this expedited, or I don't know if expedited is the right word, how quickly everything kind of came together. So I just wanted to thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Mr. Smith?
Juan Woods.
Good evening, Board. Dewan Woods, Berkshire Point neighborhood. First, I'd like to thank the 2 new board members. Congratulations and welcome to the board. I actually have a couple things. First, I want to thank or give acknowledgement to Harish Bajwi. He is with the Techno Tadpoles number 4182. We had the pleasure of speaking with him and his team. He's the coach around the tadpoles, and it's a group, exposure group for Lego robotics and robotics in general. So I have an 8-year-old, and these are and Mr. Smith, you talked about blessings. The parents we have, the volunteers, the PTO, the teachers. We are truly in a community that's blessed. And I'm a man of faith, but even if you're not a person of faith, I think you can recognize the fortune that we have in this community. And so I think what I want to talk to you about today is a little bit of what this week represented, and this Martin Luther King Day on Monday. And from Martin Luther King's several events and several activities, but what I like to do is I like to go back and actually read some of his own writing, letters from Birmingham jail, some of his own writings over the time that he was in Alabama, Selma, some of the challenges that he faced. And it became very clear to me that he also knew that if you're given great opportunity or great wealth or great privilege, you have high expectations that are upon you. And why? Because you're a role model, you're a leader, you're in a position where others are looking up to you. And so I will simply say, I trust that the board knows that you all represent us, and we are a constituent for you. So we're all in this together. And so it's a part of this symbiotic relationship that we all should share this goal of being better for the kids, but being better for ourselves. And so I say that I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, I'm pointing fingers back at myself to be the best that I can be, and that's what I can control. So I will say that. And the last thing I'll say is, I do believe that there is an opportunity over the next couple of months where we can have dialogue, but then also members of the community that are unsung heroes, maybe there's an opportunity to lift them up at these board meetings in a way where we bring community members up. We let them share their story of how they're having an impact in their school, in their community. And I think much more than having me come up and talk about unity, having folks talk about what they're doing. And I can tell you this, I am so inspired by our community. It makes me proud to be a Novi resident. I'm even going so far, I haven't reached out to some people who send me emails about unity, but I will reach out to them because that's how much this community means to me. And so thank you so much, and more importantly, thank you all. Thank you all, thank you all.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
Amy Krupkin.
Good evening, Amy Krupkin, Novi resident. I have two children, one's a sophomore and one's in 6th grade. Starting with that, I just wanted to speak about our teachers. Since my kids have been in school here, we've had phenomenal teachers. I don't think there's been one who I could say anything negatively about. So going into that, every meeting we come to, there's a administrative report, and it talks about who's resigned, who's getting hired, and so forth. And there's always one or two resignations. So I'm a data person, so I went back and I looked just at the 21-22 school year and just looked at the teacher contract level, social workers, teachers, counselors. Are you aware that 53 people left last year? 53. And this year so far, 30 have left. That's an emergency. That's not normal. For comparison, you all know I'm a teacher in a neighboring district who lost 34 teachers last year. Okay, you've lost 53. I would like you to take this opportunity to think about what's going on in Novi that many people are leaving one of the top-rated districts in the state. I know contract negotiations are coming up, and I'm hoping that hopefully you're gonna do something that's going to keep our teachers here. Yes, there will always be teachers trying to come to Novi. It's the top-rated district in the state. But what are you doing to keep the teachers we have? There's nothing wrong with a new teacher, but it takes a while to get your craft and to know what you're doing and to make sure your kids are meeting the standards they're supposed to meet. And having new teachers constantly come in, that's not gonna keep us at the top level where we're at now. It's just not. Please keep in mind, as you're looking at your contracts and looking at how to keep those teachers, what you can offer. And it's not just pay. Where I'm at is pretty similar in pay. It's not that much different. And you lost more than 20 more people in a year. Pay's important, don't get me wrong. Teachers need more money, they always do. But what else can you look at to keep those people? We need our teachers. We have phenomenal teachers. We need to keep them. And that's not happening. You're losing them and they're going to neighboring districts. They've come up here and told you they're leaving and they're going to neighboring districts. You need to look at the why. Where teachers are always asked, what is your why? Why are you here? What are you doing? What is your why? How are you gonna keep your teachers here? Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Mr. Smith?
That's it.
Okay. Alrighty, we will move on to our consent agenda. Tonight, we have quite a few items on the consent agenda. We have approval of the minutes. We have the regular meeting minutes of December 15th, 2022, closed session minutes of December 15th, 2022, regular meeting minutes of January 12th, 2023, special meeting minutes of January 17th, 2023, closed session minutes of January 17th, 2023. We have two field trip approvals, the One Act Play and the Winter Guard WGI Chicago Area Competition. If I can get a motion for the recommendation, Mr. Cook?
I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Recommended by Mr. Cook and supported by Mr. Mena. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. We have one action item this evening, and that is the personnel report. I will pass that over to Mr. Meinka.
Thank you. This is an exciting personnel report for a number of reasons. It's always wonderful when we get to bring new people into the team. And I will say that several of the people that are on this list are actually here tonight. I'm going to ask Dr. Carino to, at the appropriate time, introduce them. I just want to specifically speak to someone that was mentioned earlier, Ms. Ringel. The district, since I started, I say we because our team is all new, but one of the things that we noticed early on was there was a position that had previously been a supervisor of English language development. And we also noticed that we had a lot of gaps in different areas, and so it became kind of clear that while we didn't move forward immediately and hire the position, we needed somebody to help in the Department of Academics and working with grants, state and federal programs, as well as a lot of the things that we're missing in terms of leadership from that ELD department. So we had somebody in our district who is uniquely skilled and gifted and qualified, and this is a really great opportunity, I think, for our district to allow Adva to be able to share her tremendous wealth of experience and expertise in this area. And I just am really excited about the support that she's going to give over, I think, 34% of our school district, which is a pretty impressive amount of students. So I'll turn it over to Dr.
Present to you this evening. So as Mr. Micah shared, Adva Ringel is being recommended for the Director of ELD and State and Federal Programs. Daniela Bull is being recommended for Middle School Science Teacher. Megan Mathis is a VO Special Education Teacher. Prina Wilcher would be a Middle School Literacy Interventionist. Tiffany Hendricks will be hired as the District Nurse. Marina Estrada would be a Special Education Paraprofessional at Deerfield. And Sharon Satterfield will be a Village Oaks Special Education Para. We have one resignation and two retirements. Rebecca Buck will be resigning from her position at the middle school. Kristen Corian will be retiring at the end of the school year from NATC. And Deborah Jennings Minor will be retiring from transportation effective tomorrow.
Thank you, Dr. Carino. If I can get a motion for the recommendation.
Yeah, I move that we approve the personnel report as presented.
Do we have support?
Support.
Recommended by Mr. Mena and supported by Mrs. Roney. Do we have any questions or comments? Mrs. Bodine.
I noticed that Rebecca Buck is leaving, and my oldest actually had her in 7th grade. And I just wanted to share that she was a very meaningful teacher for my daughter, and I'm sad to see her go. She was somebody who, for my family, went above and beyond what was required in an effort to make sure that my daughter, when she was having a rough year, was able to make it through her school day. And of course, she also has the therapy dog Bosa, who was also very instrumental in getting my daughter to attend school at that moment. So thank you for and additionally that we have a bus driver leaving, and I'm wondering how we are doing on staffing our transportation and if we're seeing any major issues there like we saw before.
So great question. So we are still able to run all of our routes. I will be working with Mrs. Valentine to come up with kind of an incentive program to be able to try to recruit more bus drivers, because we would like to add 2 or 3 to make sure that if a bus driver calls in sick or is unable to drive their route on a given day, that we have some extra coverage aside from just combining routes. So we'll be developing that program, and we'll be presenting that very soon.
So the community should not be concerned that we're going to start having interruptions in transportation at this point? That is wonderful news, Dr. Frida, thank you.
Do we have any other questions or comments? I think kind of leading off that, is Bosa retiring too?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's very sad news.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, I think we're ready for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
We do have a couple of the members that are here.
Okay, please.
you know,
Yes,
so.
so we do have several of our staff members that we're presenting to this evening, so if you are here, please stand up so that we can call you to the podium to bring you over. We'll start with Mrs. Ringel, please.
Hi, everyone. I'm pretty nervous. I'm going to mumble a little bit. I just wanted to say how thankful I am, truly, for the time I had at Orchard Hills. I might get emotional because it's been such a wonderful time. We have such incredible students. The connections that I've managed to create with our students has just been so incredible, and I will miss them terribly. Our staff, that is also amazing. Our PTO, that is amazing. I could not have asked to be a part of a better team. I'm really, really excited to shift into working to support ELs again. A third of our student body, are ELs or dual language learners, which are students who are in preschool. And I believe that we can do so much to continue to support them. And I'm excited to be a part of the team that continues that work. The English language department team is incredible. They are so dedicated, and they have needed support for quite some time. And I'm happy to be able to do that. With federal grants, the ability to support our district by bringing in more money to support our students is incredible. And I cannot thank you enough for that opportunity.
Thank you.
Can we clap for her?
Our next employee that we are here is for Tiffany Hendricks. She will be one of our new district nurses. So please.
Hello, and hi, again, my name is Tiffany Hendricks, and I am a nurse. Prior to being a nurse, just to give you some of my background, I was also a stay-at-home mom for a season of my life and also a special education paraprofessional. I am looking forward to being a part of the Novi School District community and helping you to continue this legacy of excellence. As a mother myself, my children, Joel, he is 6 years old, and he is in kindergarten at Southfield Christian, and my daughter, Ariel, is 8 years old, and she's in 3rd grade at Southfield Christian. Do I seem disloyal already? I'm sorry about that. But it was before I got hired. But as a stay-at-home mom, in my mind, I was going to be the next pioneer woman. I don't know if you watch the Food Network. So I started a whole mommy blog and posting vegan recipes. And then I decided that it was time to get back out into the real world, past Sesame Street and 1-2-3s, and back into my profession. So I am looking forward to providing care for your students and for your children. I will do what I think is something that every parent desires, which is to care for your children the way that I would care for my own, and give you the peace of mind that when I am with them, I am giving them my very best. So thank you for having me here tonight.
Thank you.
And finally, we have Prano Wilcher, who will be the literacy interventionist at the middle school.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Prina Wilcher, and I am the new hire at Novi Middle School, and I am so excited to work as a literacy interventionist with the 7th and 8th grade team. I've been in a reading specialist for over 5 years, teacher 5 years, so a total of 10. Prior to that, I was in early education, early child education, so I have at least 26 years or plus in education. So I am excited to come aboard and be a part of the Novi Community School District. So thank you for having me.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Next, we have 2 information and discussion items. We're going to start with our elementary school playground equipment. Mr. Meinka.
Yeah, so exciting things. Obviously, we lived through the saga of the VO playground, which now that it's done is amazing. But we have some other projects in the bond program that were allocated for our other elementary school playgrounds. And so we have some additional just information that we're going to share about that. And Mr. Kevin Donnelly is here to speak on that tonight.
Sure. Thank you for having me tonight. Kevin Donnelly, Plant Moran Cressa. If you recall, like Ben had, Mr. Micah had indicated, that we completed the Village Oaks Playground, which was a substantial undertaking. What you have in front of you tonight is improvements to the remaining elementary buildings. It's not as substantial as Village Oaks, but we are replacing some key pieces of equipment at each elementary. The work will be done this summer, and we're looking to move forward with orders after the next meeting.
Great.
So Deerfield Elementary, we're looking at about $128,000, and these are not exact numbers, but I'm rounding. Novi Woods will receive about $129,000 of new equipment and installation. Orchard Hills, $129,000, and Parkview, $123,000. So this is kind of rounding out some additional work that has needed to be done to upgrade the playgrounds and add some additional equipment.
Right.
And so those will be there for your consideration at the February board meeting, but we wanted to provide you the information in advance.
Thank you. Do any board members have any questions? Mr. Mishra?
Yes, I was wondering 3 things. One, if there's a time frame for the equipment installation, so we can see that, to mostly try to avoid what I should say, put in place lessons learned from Parkview, so that we have a smooth installation and minimal disruption, not just to the school, but the community that also will be using the play structures. The other question is there any 3D
I'll stop
renderings
you,
of the equipment?
Jason, because Kevin can answer your questions probably one by one.
Okay.
Or at least say he will get you the information that you need,
Yeah,
so you
no,
don't give him
absolutely.
3 and then he
I'll
doesn't
start with
remember what you asked.
Your first question.
So the
Jason.
first one is timing. Do you have an idea for how you're gonna time all the layout? And
We
it's gonna
do.
be
We're
all
going to
once, or-
time the work to when school gets out. We're going to start each individual site, probably going from 1 to 1. I would say overall duration is probably about 2 months, and each site should probably be about a week or 2 for the equipment replacement. On these projects, there's not any major civil work, hardscape work like we did at Village Oaks. It's simply equipment replacement.
Okay, so it should be taking place during the summer, and then you're going to do it one at a time, so other playgrounds will be up and running for when that one that's being worked on is down, so to speak.
Exactly.
Okay.
And we'll provide at the next meeting kind of a conceptual schedule of how it's going to unfold during the summer, as well as additional renderings and layouts that we may have for the playgrounds.
And then the last question I had, because that was the other one, is renderings and layouts. The last question I had is was there a specific goal for each school? Like, you looked and you saw this type of structure was missing, or you evaluated and a civil engineer decided this part of a particular piece of play equipment had expired or lived past its usefulness? What was the criteria?
We, early on in the project, we had our consultant, along with Foresight Design, do evaluations on all the playground equipment. So we have a pretty good record of the history on each piece, what's outdated, what's either not safe, what needs to be replaced. So we're not just arbitrarily going in, replacing all the equipment. In fact, these particular projects, not all the equipment is being replaced. So this is equipment that needed to be upgraded, was either unsafe, or has seen its life.
Okay, great. And then I actually just thought of one very specific one towards Deerfield, because I'm very familiar with the playground there. They have 2, I think they used to be tire swings structures there that have been empty for years, and the tire swings aren't present. I'm wondering if they're going to be removed or refurbished.
I might stand corrected, but I'm pretty sure the tire swings are being removed.
Okay. Thank you.
Unfortunately, not a lot of good things happen at a tire swing.
I imagine.
So, you know.
So that's, it's good to hear that they'll be replaced with something
Yeah,
more usable.
Right.
Maybe less dangerous.
Thank you. Mrs. Roney?
I just haven't, and I'm sure you've thought of this, but are we going to have the new equipment in before we take the old out? I know you're not completely redoing a playground, but are we gonna have, okay, just,
We're going to make sure on each site that all the equipment is in hand before anything gets removed. So we're going to have all the equipment, by example, for Deerfield on site, and then the installation crews will start with the removal, and then we'll do the reinstall.
I figured you would, but
Thanks, Kevin. Any other questions or comments? Mr. Cook?
Yeah, I see on the quotes, it says the shipping to Howell. Where, we have a,
That's where the installer's headquarters is at.
Okay.
So they receive all the equipment, trailer it, bring it to each individual site.
and how did we do to budget on this?
We had a $500,000 budget allocated for all the elementaries. The last building we need to accomplish is going to be the Meadows Playground, which will be done in '24 as we complete the new addition. So this will complete all the elementary buildings. We're pretty close to budget. We had worked individually with each principal on the equipment selection that they would have to pick and design to budget.
Okay, so we're about 12% over budget on this one so far?
Well, we have a contingency on there, which we're not expecting to use, but the base bid is roughly, I think, 12,000 over.
Okay.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? Okay, certainly if questions come up, you can forward them to Mr. Micah, and we'll get them over to Mr. Donnelly to get us the information that we need before this comes to vote next week.
Very well, thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, Kevin. Thanks for being here. Happy New Year. Okay, we are going to move on to information and discussion. Item B, which is Business Professionals Tournament Field Trip. Mr. Micah.
Thank you. So we have a field trip before you that this will be the first time this trip has been taken, and it just happens to be happenstance, I think, that Mrs. Moss is actually in the audience tonight. But Mr. Giramini, can speak to specifics or answer questions, and possibly he may rely on Mrs. Moss to help him with that. But this is an opportunity for our students to go compete in the Michigan Business Professionals of America. Obviously a great opportunity, but because it's a field trip that we've never taken before, it's coming to you for information and discussion and our hope for approval at the February board meeting. So I don't know, Mr. Giramini, if you have anything you want to add.
I don't have anything extensive to add. Business Professionals of America is an organization for students to engage in competition like of our other organizations, but BPA is new to us, and so I don't want to try and go further since the expert is in the room. That would be a little bit embarrassing. So I'm happy to try to answer any questions, and of course we have Ms. Polonsky and Ms. Moss in the room to assist us.
Thank you, Mr. Giramini. So does any board members have any specific questions? And then we'll call you out, I guess, if there is any, and I don't know if there will be, but.
I'll just say that was the most creative use of the field trip fees section I've ever seen on these applications.
She's happy with that comment. She can sit down and she's got her thumbs up.
Is
so
there
we're all good.
anything, Mrs. Moss, you want to celebrate or highlight about it or anything like that?
This is a 50-year organization in Michigan, 60-year organization across the nation. There are 9 career student-run organizations, career and technical education organizations. DECA and HOSA are here. The CTE Finance program needs a co-curricular or an academic club for them to develop leadership. It is the leadership area that we are fulfilling. There's 8 audit areas that they look at, and this will help us fulfill the leadership development of our state on our career and technical education program. We have 3 winners, and we have a 3-to-3 ratio of supervisors and students going. The 3 winners are in 3 different categories. They are all male, and they are excited to be in tournaments that are not usually, and accounting is usually more female-oriented. So we are also bringing the gender development piece of it, which we think is wonderful. So, good luck to them. It's March 9th, and hopefully you will approve it. CTE will fund some of it, and the students are bringing their equitable share to what HOSA and DECA do as well. And we will keep them safe and and hopefully 4 free nights, and they will come back maybe with a national winner, we don't know.
Be great.
Awesome. Thank you very much, and thank you for bringing this program to Novi Community School District. It sounds like there's a very big need, and it's really just expanding upon all the great things we have going on here. So we appreciate all your time and effort outside of the classroom for this, both you and Mrs. Polonsky. Okay, this will be, if any questions come up, you can certainly send them to Mr. Micah, and he will send them off. But this will be on the agenda next week for approval. We are going to move on to our superintendent's report. Mr. Micah.
So one of the exciting things that's happening this time of the year is that our students at Meadows, our fifth graders, are in fifth grade camp. And so it's amazing when you think about, they've actually been going to fifth grade camp since December. Now, the same group's not been there for a month. But it is amazing that we have 10 groups of students that go experience a 2.5-day camp experience, and that's being held at the Walled Lake Outdoor Education Facility. I'm excited. I'm going to be making a trip out there over the next week to be able to see our fifth graders in action. It's kind of cool because they do spend the night, but they're not too far away. So great opportunity for our children to be able to experience some outdoor learning, and it's an amazing facility just nearby. Also, really appreciate the comment tonight about supporting teachers. It's been a great opportunity. This morning I was at Village Oaks and had the opportunity to speak with the teachers there. I was at the high school last week. We have some incredible teachers, and we do have big plans to, and I know as a board, you've shared your desire to really find ways to support them and recognize their contributions. And so it's amazing. When I get to see them work in classrooms, we have a lot of people that just go above and beyond the call of duty. And so getting a chance to go and visit with them this morning at Village Oaks alongside Mrs. Burnside has been really nice to just listen, hear their thoughts, hear some of the challenges. You know, I think sometimes we talk about all the positive things, but there are some not so rosy things that happen a lot of times in classrooms, and so it's tough to be a teacher. And I was using an analogy earlier today at actually the coffee with the superintendent, and you know, if you asked a builder to go build a house and you know the expectations are pretty high, you know, putting all that together, and you said and you said to them, we're going to give you a handsaw to go make that happen, that would be really difficult. But if you were to tell them, well, okay, but we're also going to give you an excavator, and we're going to give you all the power tools, and we're going to do all these things. And a lot of times what we find is that our teachers need some more support in terms of even the tools that they have, so they can meet high expectations, but they also need some of those supports. And those are things that we actually have a great opportunity to control. And I know that Mr. Geremini and I have spoken extensively, and we're going to be bringing a lot of those things over the course of the next few months. So we're excited about that. I did have a great coffee with the superintendent today. Had about 25 to 30 people. Mr. Geremini spoke a lot about instructional programming. I really appreciate just the opportunity to sit and have coffee with some of our community members and parents, and have some really good dialogue about some things that are just going on in the district. So appreciate Mr. Geremini's support there today. Also excited to announce, and this I spoke a little bit about Adva tonight, and she's amazing, and she really appreciate the work she's done at Orchard Hills. But we're also very excited as we introduce the interim principal, Ms. Darby Hoppenstedt at Orchard Hills, and I believe that her skill set is very strong. She's a proven leader, and I'm excited about the work that she's going to be doing at Orchard Hills and what she's going to bring to that staff and support them in this interim time period, and who knows what will happen over the course of the next 4 to 5 months. And I just want to give you a quick update. In January is the first shot that the legislature comes out and they host what's called a Consensus Revenue Estimating Conference. It's affectionately referred to as the CREC. And that is when we learn kind of for the first time, what are the financial analysts estimating our revenues to be. Right now, we're looking at fiscal year 21-22 with an 11% increase in revenues over the prior year. That produced a total of $17.8 billion of additional revenues, which will carry forward into the 22-23 fiscal year. So we do project a healthy school aid fund revenue over the course of the next 2 years. And so the initial shot out of the gate is positive. There's also some caution, right, that we're heading into the potential of a recession of some sort. They don't project that it's gonna be anywhere near what 2008 was, but there's that precaution that is looming. But what I will say is that over the course of the next month or two, Governor Whitmer will release her budget. She's usually the first one out of the gate. And then the other chambers will develop their budget recommendations. And then Mr. Kling will have an opportunity to try and take a dart and throw it at a dartboard and guess what that number is gonna be before we have our first initial budget recommendation for you in June. But there's also gonna be another consensus revenue estimating conference in May, and we'll have additional, much more finalized numbers at that time that we can report out. But the signs are pointing to a positive May consensus revenue estimating conference, which is always positive. So that will conclude my report for this evening. And I will say just how much I appreciate not just the board, but the community, you know, their advocacy, and our kids and everybody in this community is an amazing person, and we're very, very lucky. And I agree with what Mr. Woods said, we're very blessed. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Micah. Are you gonna make grilled cheese sandwiches at fifth grade camp?
That's my goal.
Okay, excellent. We are gonna move on to our administrative reports, and we'll start with Mr. Kling.
Thank you, Dr. Roxton. I'm also gonna touch on the CREC, because for all the school finance nerds out there, that's kind of our thing, it's a big deal. We like the January meeting, we like the May even better. But, as Superintendent Micah said, we are seeing positive, we're seeing a positive balance sheet and projected balance sheet for the state. What does that mean for the school aid fund? More to tell. There is kind of fear of a recession looming. On top of that, you have expected student loss. So the expected student loss for 2023 is 5,000. For 2024, it's about 6,000, and then for 2025, it's about another 5,000 statewide. So what does that mean? A lot to, sorry, yes, statewide.
I was like, we only have 7,000. Sorry, I'm still new here.
Yeah, these are meetings done in Lansing, so they're talking big picture.
Pardon me.
So there's a lot of yay, but, right? So yay, we have a solid balance sheet, but what does that mean for us moving forward? As Superintendent Mike also said, this is the first step. So this is really, if you look at it, it's like a wagon wheel. This is the first leg of that wheel. In February, the governor is gonna kind of, gonna work on her budget, and then February and May, the House and Senate are gonna come together and work on their spending plans. By June and October, by late May, and early June, the House and Senate are gonna iron out those budgets, right, because those are two different separate budgets. That's when in May, we're gonna have the second revenue consensus, conference. And then by June and October, they have to have those two budgets ironed out and finalized and sent to the governor by July, and she has to sign it by October 1st. So that's kind of the whole cycle in one big swoop, and then the cycle repeats again in the following spring. So what does that mean for us? Well, this is our first shot. This is the first information we get from that state from the prior fiscal year. So we'll keep you up. I'll keep you updated on that process, especially when we have that May conference. We also had the MSBO Financial Strategies webinar this week. So again, we talked a lot about what happened in the CREC, what does that mean for us, as far as categoricals, as far as foundation amounts, all projections. Still a lot more to come there. Also talking about accounting standards, GASB standards, and so it was a great webinar on Tuesday and Wednesday. Moving on to the business office, we're really making strides to make sure we're up to date with all our recording and filing procedures. And what does that mean for us? Well, that's going to be making sure that we're doing all of the appropriate things on time, bank reconciliations, and that helps us with our financial statements. And so right now I'm working on the December financial statements, and you can look at financial statements as what happened in the past months, and that helps us with the budget, which the budget is obviously what we're projecting to happen throughout the rest of the fiscal year, or throughout this fiscal year. So more to come on that. Still have the lofty goal of having you on a budget amendment by the February board meeting. But, you know, just taking it day by day. So that's my report. Sorry that was lengthy.
It was great. Thank you, Mr. Klein. Dr. Carino.
Thank you. We are excited to officially launch the Educator of the Year program. So we revised our traditional Teacher of the Year program this year and made it more inclusive to include ancillary staff as well, who, such as psychologists, speech pathologists, special education providers, who don't normally fit into the criteria for Oakland Schools Teacher of the Year award, but we wanted to make sure that they had an opportunity to be recognized because they do amazing things with our kids as well. So we revised our traditional Teacher of the Year program to have 4 different categories. It's preschool through 4th grade, 5th grade through 8th grade, 9th grade through 12th grade in career prep and adult ed, as well as our ancillary staff. And so we just launched that this week and are looking for nominations of outstanding educators that we can recognize. And so we will be giving them a monetary reward for the teacher or educator in each of those categories that we select. They will continue on to be submitted with the NEF, who will evaluate their selection to potentially win a brand new car. So we're very excited for that. And we'll follow up with support member of the year later on this year. We are starting a Wildcat Weekly recognition program, so stay tuned on Twitter, where administrators or other staff members will have the opportunity to nominate a Wildcat of the Week, staff member who has just done something tremendous and deserves to be recognized. So we really want to make sure that we're taking the time to really appreciate the wonderful things that our staff are doing day in and day out. And so it can be as little as, just helping, a student do the normal things that they do every single day. And so we just want to recognize the big and the small things that our staff do. We are going to be starting focus groups with our current staff members to see why they stay at Novi. And so, we heard tonight that we need to dig into retention and recruitment. And so it is very, very important, and so I want to assure the community that we are committed to both of those things. So we want to recruit highly effective staff, and I'm so proud of the people that we are recruiting, and I'm so glad that you get an opportunity to meet them, so it's not just a name on a page, but you get to see the people that we are bringing into the district, but it's also about retaining them. And so I just recently revised our exit survey for exiting staff to be able to get more information about why a staff member may choose to leave. And there's a variety of different reasons. It's not just necessarily because they're unhappy, but sometimes they leave because they want to get closer to home or they want to go into a different field. And so by revising that survey, it will give us some more applicable data that we can then use to better our practices and make sure that we're working to retain our staff. Also trying to just speak to our current staff members to find out why Novi? Why do they pick Novi? Why do they want to stay in Novi? And what we can do to bring more people into Novi. So it's important that we tap into our current staff members. So that will happen this spring. And I just want to thank the staff members that are here today. We have teachers, we have ancillary staff, we have administrators, and many of these people are also watching from home. So we just wanted to say thank you because they're invested and engaged in what's going on in our district, and we're incredibly lucky to have them. So, and to all of you, thank you and happy School Board Member Month. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Farino. Mr. Jeremy.
Thank you. Happy School Board Member Month. Appreciate all that you do in the late evenings. I won't make it too much later. I know that she had to leave, but I want to recognize Mrs. Ringel. I'm very excited to have her join the team again in the Office of Academics, eager for her leadership and support in this newly expanded role. I think she's going to be amazing. I had the opportunity this week to visit AVMR training. You've heard me talk about it, Advantage Math Recovery. It's something that we're focusing on with our K-5 staff, really thinking about understanding what it is that students might not understand about a mathematical concept. So equipping our teachers, giving them additional skills to recognize, diagnose those differences in learning and understanding, and giving them strategies to help those kids be successful. I got a shout out for Katie Walker and Lisa Laporte, two of our instructional coaches who are leading that training in our district. Absolutely amazing. Like I had to sit down firsthand and listen, and it was actually the first day of a new cohort for this training. So it was really exciting for me to just see it from the ground up. So I'm very proud of the work that they're doing and appreciative of it as well. And just one more small update. On December 20th, we had our first Sex Education Advisory Board meeting. I thought it was very successful. We discussed roles and responsibilities, the history of the group, and we developed some norms for our work together. I think it's going to be a great team, really excited for our continued work. And our next meeting is scheduled for early February, and I'll just continue to keep you guys updated until we have some recommendations to present.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Jeremy. Okay, board communication.
I'll go.
Mr. Smith.
First of all, thanks, Devin, for your report. I think that's the first time you've given us a, kind of a detailed report. I think it's awesome you mentioned the correct report, accounting standards, and great webinar all in the same sentence.
Family accounting and great webinar, don't.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but that's, I mentioned, Mrs. McKeag earlier in my comments, the black box and the one act play. And, earlier this evening, we approved a field trip for those students to go to Central Michigan University to perform in the competition for one acts, which, if you're not aware, Novi has traditionally done quite well. And we've had students recently receive some pretty nice scholarships in the area of theater and performing arts. What I think we can do a better job at, which I'm going to at least take a stab at that tonight, is helping the community understand the thought that goes into some of the selection for the material that we do present during these performances. This February 6th and 7th is when the one-act play will be performed in the Black Box Theater. The title of this year's one-act is called These Shining Lives. And it's not just a play, but it's an additional opportunity for our students and frankly our community members to continue to educate themselves about things that might not be addressed in the classroom. This particular performance talks about early on labor relations, employee rights, adversity, persistence, standing up for things that you believe. It's a story that's a true story about 4 women who worked for a company in Ottawa, Illinois, painting hour dials or hour marks on watch faces so that they would glow in the dark. It starts off in the early 1920s, and of course they were using radium as they were painting these hour marks on the dials so that they would indeed glow in the dark. Thank goodness it's changed a little bit over time. But the story continues where these women in this company started to develop things like glowing fingers, respiratory ailments, and other sicknesses because of the ignorance at that time. Unfortunately, also at that time, it was one of the few jobs that a female could get and earn a decent wage. The story then follows the sickness, the cancer, and the ultimate death of one of these 4 women, and how she fought against this particular company over and over and over again. In fact, 7 times taking this company to court, which culminated in the United States Supreme Court siding on her behalf in awarding a relatively nominal judgment for the loss of life. It's a tremendous story. It might not have the show-stopping power of an Aaron Brockovich movie, but it's basically the same premise. And it's going to be performed by our students right here in our black box. So I want to compliment Heather and that team for the selection of the material, the students that will be performing it, and encourage our community to attend the black box presentation of These Shining Lives, February 6th and 7th, right here in our building.
Thank you, Mr. Smith, and thank you for that educational piece and putting that out there, all the work that goes behind the selection and the work that the students are learning, obviously. So, any other board communication? Mr. Mishner?
Yeah, I just wanted to take this time to thank all the staff, administrators, and students that put together these gifts. Like, that was absolutely that was absolutely awesome. In the truest sense of the word, I am deeply touched and was not expecting any of that. So I just wanted to say thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other board communication, Mr. Cook?
Yeah, I'll echo Mr. Mitchner's response there. It blew me away too. I'm very appreciative. I appreciate the high school teachers coming out, administrators, elementary school teachers coming out too. So we really appreciate everybody coming out. One thing I do want to say is a correction to something, and I checked the minutes, and it's not called out in there specifically, but last week we accepted a donation from First of Michigan for $6,000. First of Michigan is actually the fiscal agent for Autodesk across the state. Autodesk has an office here at our city, and Autodesk was actually the donor of $6,000, $1,500 for our 4 middle school teams. And I want to make sure they got their due recognition there.
Thank you, Mr. Cook, I appreciate that. Mrs. Bodwine?
Well, I just this evening had the pleasure of meeting Ms. Ringel. I have had quite a bit of experience with Mrs. Hoppenstead over the last couple of years. And I wanted to congratulate her on her new placement at Orchard Hills. I think she's going to do amazing things there. And I think the Orchard Hills team will be incredibly blessed to have her leadership there. Darby is passionate about all of our students, and she has time and time again been able to look at a problem and really specifically figure out exactly what is needed to get students to be able to be successful in those situations. And I am quite certain that she will be able to help the teaching staff there as well in that same capacity. I think she is a wonderfully observant leader, and they will all be very blessed to have her, as we all will as a district. And then also, thank you to all of our teachers who are here this evening. And I would like to personally say that I am thankful that each one of you choose to stay here every day that you do. And I am dedicated as a new trustee of this board to trying to understand what you all need as much as we can as a board and try to figure out exactly how we can make Novi the best place to teach in the whole state or the country. We'll see. But really do appreciate all of you, especially the fact that you're here this late at night when you have to get up early for school tomorrow. So thank you all. Really appreciate it. And also thank you for the wonderful gifts to everybody. That was amazing.
Thank you. Mrs. Roney?
I had the pleasure last night to attend the OCSBA Zoom meeting, which that's Oakland County School Board Association. And we had a lengthy presentation from Dwight Levin, I could have screwed that up, but about cybersecurity. And I'm sure all you teachers all know about this. And so he was very informative, different ways that hackers try to scam us, and different types of hackers, and smishing and phishing and vishing. Didn't know all those terms. I knew about phishing, but the other ones no. So that was very informative, and then they also did a legislative update about the 3rd grade reading requirements, that they may rescind that.
Yeah, actually, it looks like it's going to be rescinded. It's something that has been controversial over the years, but bipartisan support for the rescinding of the 3rd grade reading bill. It has been proven to be unsuccessful, and research has shown that retaining children for those purposes has not yielded greater results. In fact, it's caused more harm. So I think it's a wonderful step in the right direction. I think the intent at the initial outset was probably sound, in that we wanted to try and create some sort of way to ensure that our kids were reading. But certainly through the global pandemic, we learned that that was a very unhelpful piece of legislation. And so I appreciate Senator Paul Hankey and those members of the legislature who have kind of championed that. So.
And then my other question is, do we have a legislative liaison with the school board? Do we have that? And a legislative person, is it Jason?
No, so we talked about it at our organizational meeting in December, And in the past, we've had a legislative committee, and then really not much work had been done because the work goes on there in Lansing, and then the question became, were we getting the information we needed? Ben has been providing monthly, bi-monthly reports, and so it was discussed at that particular meeting that we didn't need particularly a committee, that we were all gonna work together with updates from Ben. But if you see a need, you can certainly share that with us, and we can look into developing something that may.
I guess they're supposed to be sending us some resolutions and some, I think, bylaw updates that we're supposed to take care of and get back to them. So I assume Ben or Sheila or somebody will see that and take care of it as well.
Yeah, if it's something that needs to be approved by each board so that they can get a board count at Oakland County, and they need to have a certain number of boards that participate.
Correct.
It usually comes via email to either through the superintendent's office, or it comes to all board members. So since you say that's coming, we'll be on a lookout for that, because they'll need
A
action
consensus,
done at our
yeah.
table, and then a consensus amongst majority of boards within Oakland County School District.
Okay, and then, of course, lastly, I'd like to thank, all the schools, and then I'd also like to thank all you community members and teachers for coming out, and it's wonderful to see so many people in the audience. Generally, we're looking out at a bunch of chairs, so this is so nice. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Done.
I'd like to say thank you to the IB cohort in the high school. So IB cohort this year, IB is our interbaccalaureate program, and there's some students that just take one class, and that works well for them and helps them get the education that they're looking for. But we also have a cohort of students who are getting an IB diploma. And so as they do that, they have different projects and different things. So this year, the IB cohort put together on MLK Day, which was Monday, an opportunity for community service. And it was a great way for students and community members, and some teachers were there, to have a plethora of community service projects to choose from. They did a very nice sign-up genius. I think there was about 12 different opportunities, from food banks to Humane Society to Fleece and Thank You, and it was just a really wonderful way, both for the students to look into community service projects that they could share with others and get people to go and come up with, 100 or so people that were willing to be a part of that. But it was really wonderful for students who were looking to add service to the community, that they kind of had a place to go, just to, not to make it easy for them, but to say, okay, this is what I want to do, and this is the address, and I'm going to get a ride there, and I'm going to spend a few hours on this day to provide service to my community on my day off. So thank you to them. I think the leader in that program, and I'm sorry if I'm misspeaking, but I know Mr. Capuano was very integral. I saw him at one of the sites, and he was there with his family, and it was just a great opportunity. It's the first time I remember seeing such a large endeavor come out of the high school. So congratulations to the students who worked to put that together and make that happen and provide that opportunity to our students and our staff. So that is something that happened on Monday. Okay. Seeing no other communication from the board, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Okay, we have support?
Support.
Recommended by Mr. Mishner and supported by Mrs. Roney. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0.